Welcome, everyone. Jason, how are you, sir?
Hey man, I'm doing very well today. Feeling
Oh,
a lot
very well
better,
today.
a lot better than last week. I had some anger to get out of my
Okay.
system last
Yeah,
week.
a little bit.
Uh, if you guys listened all the way through to our last podcast, you may have heard it. But I'll try not to call for any political assassinations today. Although I wouldn't be mad if they happened.
You did not call for any, to be clear. You did not a single one was called for.
No,
I get a knock at the door. Did I tell you what I told Megsy?
no,
So you say your stuff. I'm broadcasting from my house.
yeah,
So I'm like, if anyone knocks on the door, you do not open the door. I will come downstairs and I will get my camera. Do not answer the door. Do not. And she's looking at me and I totally get her. Like, we're crazy, right? Dude, people visit people's houses, ladies and gentlemen. It happens so much
hmm
and people don't know what to do. So they don't broadcast it. They're not as brave as like a Jeremy Kaufman who actually said stuff even further than I heard when we were talking. And I also made a BB one too. So I had a slight retraction on mine. It's like, it's kind of like when you met a young healer.
yeah,
Oh boy. So,
yeah. Well, I'd like to apologize to your lovely girlfriend. I don't want to cause you guys any problems.
not at all, sir. I oddly welcome it because I feel like my record is so spotless that it's impossible to be a threat or to be threatened. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that even possible. But they've taken down great men, and I am not a great man. So,
Well, I'm never going to do anything because I know they're just going to replace him with somebody worse. So,
and we also believe in NAP. This is ridiculous. I mean, we don't know. Some timeline
oh yeah.
still has to
But
happen.
anyways,
Anyway,
how are you, man?
you're welcome.
What's going on?
I'm doing well, man. We've already got a handful of people joining us, and we're really happy. So we got to get ready for our the popular thing that we were starting to
A little
launch here again.
sippy.
Sibit. So I'm going to pour a little bit of that. Why don't you share a little bit about what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll talk about something before that before we actually go through it. It'll be fun times.
Oh yeah, we're bringing it back to the intellectual dark web. If you guys remember, Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, there was some other people involved, but they just had a conversation.
Again.
Yeah, Harris has been off off his rocker for quite some time, so this is not a surprise. Peterson has been compromised. I think there's a lot going on with that guy. He's still good on a few things, but a lot of what he's been doing lately is getting into politics, getting into places where he probably doesn't know too much. He's been, he grew up in Canada, so he's got that baggage to hold on to. But he had this conversation on his podcast with Sam Harris last week. We thought we'd just break it down, go through some things, because there are a few good nuggets in there, but there's a lot of crazy. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Well, I think what I'm trying to do is give some grace to. Like, we've seen Harris literally get TDS. Now, we'll watch him talk about how he's not affected by not being on social media to the point where he talks about it so much that methinks thou dost protest too much a little bit, if that makes sense. Like, he's not, oh no, I'm not affected. We'll
Are you
talk
sure you're not there, buddy? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And he does have an account. He even said he has like an whatever anonymous account, whatever. It's neither here nor there. Now, we've seen what happened, the rise and fall of Peterson in this weird way. It's funny, Mike Decentralized, I met him at Freedom Fest. He reached out to me today through Twitter X, whatever. He's like, hey, you want to jump on a Zoom call real quick? Yeah, we're boomers, sorry, or Gen X, whatever, old. So yeah, we'll jump on a Zoom call. I'm talking to him. I'm so old, like, it cut off on me because I don't even have it installed on my computer. So we talked till it like said your free trial ended or something. So we're talking, and this exact thing came up. We're just talking about this exact same thing. Is like, Peterson, we just have to take the good ideas. We cannot idolize people. We can't idolize people. We idolize people. We get what's happening this week. We get the fracturing of very sane individuals who have an idolization of some orange-haired idol. No offense, or whatever. I don't know. That's just what we're seeing, right?
Yeah, of course. For anyone who's watching this later and doesn't know the context, the Iran-Israel conflict is heating up, or maybe winding down. We just saw a post from Trump saying there's a ceasefire agreement, which also on its own sounds kind of ridiculous. As we were talking a little bit,
after their respective current missions that they're setting up end.
Yeah, you guys finish your bombing runs. Iran, you get 12 hours. Israel, you get 24 hours to finish. But then we're done. After that,
no take back keys, no touch these.
I said we're having peace. It's time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Oh man! Oh, so did you see the fake tweet from Hirohito? And it's basically Trump's tweet. It's Trump's tweet, and it's just basically replace all the stuff with Iran with Pearl Harbor to Hawaii. It's just like, now it's time for peace. It's just like hilarious. Yeah. And people are off their rockers, ladies and gentlemen. You see me. I take bullets all day on Facebook. It is the boot. They do not even know that. I don't even know. Whatever.
Yes, you know, you're seeing an interesting fracture. So there's a lot of people that are like, hey, we said we didn't want war, and they're sticking to that principle. And then there's a lot of people who are like, no, we have to do what Trump says no matter what. And those are the people you should stay the hell away from. Stay far away from those people.
And there are people, and I saw Legacy Zach would know because he's been on plenty of times, but he's said it where there's a guy he specifically would call out on the Boomer social network known as Facebook. I'm not going to say his name. Not worth it. But it's like he'll say exactly like the way Scott Horton explained how it happened, and then go, and that's why we're as great as we are right now. And you're like, dude, we're not so great. Just because you got in this system in this way, this is not prosperous.
I think you took the wrong lesson from that.
Yeah, it's like it's like Bill Maher. You know, he almost gets it, and then he just fucking just turns the steering wheel like 90 degrees.
Yeah, man.
So, anyway, so that's that. We got 10 people on, sir. I think it's time. It's time.
Okay, here we go. It is time for the moment that sends the lizard people running back to the sewers, scrambles the CIA's spy network, and causes the simulation to drop a frame. Yes, folks, it's our very own Whiskey Rebellion, known only as the Simulation Sip.
All you need is a cup, a mug, a goblet, a horn, a flask, or any ancient alien thermos filled with any beverage Big Pharma hasn't recalled yet. Could be coffee, tea, ivermectin, smoothies, graphene oxide latte, dealer's choice.
And join us now as we raise our glasses in unison, confusing the AI overlords, forestalling the next CDC directives, and maybe, just maybe, waking up one more NPC. Here we go. So, welcome back to our little glitch in the Matrix. This is If by Whiskey. We're talking Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris today. They got into social media, what it means for us, who should be allowed to talk, what should we do about the people spreading dangerous misinformation, all kinds of other topics surrounding that. It was fun in a way just to see people that we used to look up to at one point just talking complete nonsense. And to be fair, it's not all nonsense. There's some good stuff in there. You see some reasonable points, but then you'll be like, you're just taking the wrong lesson from this. So so we're just going to go through them. We're starting from the beginning and break it down where we feel like we need to step in. We need to moderate.
Yeah. And chat, welcome everyone in chat. Everybody's joined us. Feel free to be highly engaged in the chat. If you hear something that they say, type it in the chat, something that sticks out. We'll put those pieces up and we'll go through it as we pause. I'll scroll through while Jason makes a couple points, and then he'll look through while I make a couple points. We'll put some stuff up. We want to interact with everyone because this is a funny thing. I think both of these people, they don't want liberty. They don't want freedom. They speak freedom, but they don't. They want just a different overlord than the other. They just to break from the whole statist idea is so challenging, but I think it's necessary, even if you go back to statism, to break away completely from it and then maybe, dip it back in so that you can keep it as minimalistic as possible, right? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So you hear them say some reasonable things like, hey, some people are spreading bad things on the internet. Yes, that's true, right? Obviously, you can go online. Anything I post gets a handful of people saying, oh, you're an idiot. You're a Democrat because you don't support Trump.
Can we talk about that guy today? What?
Yeah.
I don't even care what his name was, but whatever.
Yeah.
Dude jumps on down your throat and he goes, you silly Democrat. All the Democrats gave Iran millions and billions of dollars, and Hillary gave them uranium and blah, 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 blah. And how many times did we say we're not even Democrats? We show them, we told them 8 times, and then he blocked us.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm like, take your brain out of binary mode. And right after that, he's like posting that thing with the Guy Fawkes mask. And
yes,
like it said something about, if you don't know the truth, you're a Democrat or something. I'm like, come on, man.
And that was so funny. Better. I think I messaged you. I'm like, dude, he pulled a Guy Fawkes mask on you.
Yeah.
Literally your logo is based around the Guy Fawkes mask.
Yeah. To be fair, you can't see it so well in my profile pic anymore, but man,
he's dropping a mask though.
They're not sending their best.
They're not.
I'm sure some of them are very fine people, but they're not sending us their best.
Well, now it's time for 2 more that aren't our best anymore. Let me know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start hitting play, sir. You just tell me when to pause, and I'll be Johnny on the spot.
All right, be ready.
All right, everybody ready? Let's do this. I'm manning the video. You man the chat, and just let me know. Just keep an eye out for stuff. Everyone join. Thank you so much for joining. Here we go.
I'm not getting any sound on my end.
Oh boy. Let me do it differently then. Hold on. All right. Let me do it the old-fashioned way we're going to do it.
Okay.
All right. Sir, you mind chit-chatting for a second while I load it the other way?
Sure, man. So we're talking Sam Harris. If everybody remembers Sam Harris, he's an atheist. He's a Democrat. He is famous recently for saying things like, I don't care if Hunter Biden has dead children in his basement, because what Trump did with Trump University, scamming people, is so much worse.
Yeah, he got TDS like crazy. We did dissect him a little bit with Bill Maher, right? When he talked, and he has the weirdest slogans I've ever heard in my entire life. He does not know how to use like a slogan, and his analogies, I think he goes in thinking he's going to nail some analogy, and he gets lost halfway in. He's like, oh shit, I don't know a way out. And you watch him. I think that happened many times in this conversation. He's like, it's kind of like, and then you're like, dude, get to the point, bro. All right. So, all right, let me try this again. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's the guy that got everything wrong on COVID and then still managed to
for it.
Somehow like trick his brain into thinking he was right, and said, well, imagine if everything was different, then I would have been correct. And then you'd be feeling like a fool. Right.
100%.
Yeah. So that's who we're talking about. Peterson's been better, but he was still saying like, push the shot. I took the vaccine because then they'll leave me alone.
Yeah, sure. You betcha. That's the way we're going to do it. Yeah, that's what he said, right? And it's so funny because the guy comes from like, he studied Stalin and Hitler and all this stuff. And you're sitting there going, isn't the first step to authoritarianism like giving in to the first fucking command? Like, he's like, the first thing they say is like, oh, I do it so they leave me alone. It's like, that's not how it works. And it's proven time and time again. And guess what? It didn't happen this time. So,
you will never comply your way through tyranny.
All right. You ready, sir? Let me know if this one's better. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, first you have to define what you mean by better.
A lot of time over the years speaking with Sam Harris. We've spoken publicly half a dozen times and privately far more than that. We're coming at the same problems, I would say, from quite different perspectives and establishing some concordance over time. Today, we went down the rabbit hole of rabbit holes, I suppose, discussing the fragmentation of the narrative landscape on the social media front and what that means for cultural incoherence, weakness, demoralization, deceit, self-deception, and inability to understand one another. And so join us as we attempt to clarify the catastrophe of infinite plurality. Well, Mr. Harris, it looks like it's time for our approximately annual conversation.
Yeah, nice. You're the clock that ticks once a year.
Yeah, well, I suspect that's more than enough. So tell me what you're thinking about lately, Sam, on the intellectual side and what you're doing.
Well, it is actually relevant to the chaos in our politics at the moment. I'm increasingly worried that we have effectively rendered ourselves ungovernable based on the way we have shattered the information landscape. And I think independent media of the sort that we're indulging now is part of that problem. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but I've been fairly vociferous in criticizing some of our mutual friends, and in my case, some may be former friends, but fellow podcasters and people in independent media, and I just think they've been part of this shattering, and it's been fairly obvious. And the cases are different, but many people have been quite irresponsible in the way that they have.
All right, I let it go for a little bit because I thought he was going to elaborate more on this thing. There was nothing to pause. Oh, my phone's talking to me. Hey, stop listening. Anyway, so what Sam's worried about, becoming ungovernable because of this landscape of independent media and information. What do you think about that, Mark? You're muted, by the way.
I like to address the friends that he's lost.
Yeah, which friends are we talking here?
We saw this election happen. Let's not kid ourselves. Who from the Democrat who didn't vote Trump ever or something said the left left me? How many people? This has been a recurring nightmare for the Democrats. The left left me. These people don't want to associate with you. They are too good for you. All they want to do is tell you how to be and how you should think and what you should think. And if you disagree with them, you are wholly in the wrong. It's not even up for discussion.
Yes, we have friends like Dave Rubin. We have friends like Brett Weinstein, friends like Eric Weinstein, friends like Joe Rogan. I think he specifically mentioned Joe Rogan. I don't know if he got to it yet, but
not yet, but he will.
Yeah. So he's
and
worried
Joe
about
Rogan's
these people.
a great one. Joe Rogan, Douglas Murray, and Dave Smith are walking to a bar.
Yeah.
So they're hanging out. And what they said was the second it was over, Douglas just up and walked out. And what did Joe do? He hung out with Dave Smith. Now, do you think they kicked Douglas Murray out? Or do you think that Douglas Murray felt he was too good for that, or felt on his own, has his own issues? Just like Mike Johnson, when he's standing on the outside with like Trump, JD, and everybody like together, and he's like, "Hey guys, let me in." Just like that. Does you know what I'm talking about? Which one is it?
No, that's exactly it, man. Douglas is like, oh, how dare you even entertain the idea that Israel could do anything wrong at all.
Right.
You've never even
Joe just would give him a hug. You think that Sam Harris, you think that Joe Rogan, okay, Joe Rogan may not reach out to Sam Harris. That is correct, because Joe Rogan's a pretty busy dude. But do you think that Sam's really reached out to Joe since he's TDS'd out? Because Joe would be like, dude, talk to me about it. And he would say something, he'd be like, I gotta call it, I gotta challenge you, at least on that, or something.
Yeah. I think he's upset. Sam is Jewish, by the way. I don't know if that plays any part in this, but it's
we shared his Bill Maher stuff on HBO with Ben Affleck and other stuff. So
a lot of this,
we are aware.
A lot of this centers around what's going on with Israel right now, which is interesting. I don't think it should. Like, it's really bizarre because that tends to like break some of the predefined ideologies, the predefined divisions that we kind of know and come to expect, because there's people like Dave Smith that are on one side. He is Jewish. There's people like Sam Harris, who is Jewish, on the other side, who probably, as a liberal, would normally not support anything Israel does, but because he is Jewish, he does. So it's very, very interesting.
Broader picture, what I'm kind of starting to notice is these guys who are the oppressed, the people who are oppressing them, you know, in a couple of years ago, a handful of years ago, whatever, censoring them, they were having this conversation about them. And now they're having the conversation about others now that they've reached some level of acceptance, credibility, whatever you want to call it. It almost feels like the gate kept are trying to keep, you know, become the gatekeepers.
Yeah. And maybe that's like an inevitable thing once you start to get up to that level. When you are the top dog, of course, you probably want to keep other people out, right?
I don't know. I feel like, how collaborative are we? Like, someone sends you a message, the first thing you're like, dude, this person did X, Y, that's going to really look good on us or something. And it's like, oh yeah, somebody reached out to us. Yeah, it'll make, you know, just mentioning any of us would be good for, you know, and we're trying to be this rising tide. And yeah, maybe you get to greed, but I think from this principle core of voluntarism and all the other stuff we're preaching and practicing, I'd like to think that we would embrace all ideas, because like they're gifts. What's the thing I just sent you from Rick Rubin? Something, your art is a gift for the world or something. Just something. Like I say, here, I'm gonna pull it up right here. I got it. You're making
neither of us is Jordan Peterson level fame and notoriety.
Once again, it's kind of like I don't want to call Roman out or anything, but you know, Roman's probably like, play my music any way you want, do whatever. Really make it. Okay. Now, if he was a multi-gazillion album seller like a Swizzle, if he was Romanzel or something, like, I don't know if he'd do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, at that point, it wouldn't be up to him. It's really record labels and all that. So it's,
But Taylor owns it all. Don't you forget that. Get that out of your dirty mouth.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing I wanted, really to focus on is the ungovernable thing. So because of all this information, everyone, you know, and this has become kind of a cliche at this point, right? But everyone's finding their own way. They find their own bubble. They get what information appeals to them. They get confirmation bias. And at that point, we're just so fractured that there's no hope of living together. And I wish that were true in some ways, because I want people to go explore and find their own way, try different things. I understand the hard part that causes. Like, if you're living in a country with 300 million people, you're not going to feel the same about different things, but that's okay. We don't need to have the same things. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of nice. We shouldn't be governable. You don't want that. Well, I don't want that.
Yeah. Liberty is ugly, but it's the best ugliness we've got.
Yeah.
Like, we know that people need to be fed, housed, clothed, whatever. If we did it from a liberty perspective, community out, those problems, I do think they become less of a problem, because it's like a scalability issue. You can probably handle one or two people not doing so great, but can you handle like 1,000, 2,000? You know, when it becomes like a scaling thing.
Yeah, like if someone across the country on the East Coast believes something crazy, I don't care. It doesn't bother me, except that they have a voice in my governance. So the problem isn't that they believe crazy things, because if they don't have any power over me, then I don't care. It doesn't affect me. But if they do, and then we also have all these systems that make people believe crazy things, well, then it's a problem.
100.
So anyway, let's keep going, because we're going to have to keep this moving, because we're never going to get to the end.
No, we're not. We're playing like an 8-parter on this one, I think.
Yeah.
All right, here you go, buddy.
All right.
Platformed people uncritically and let them spread truly divisive and dangerous misinformation. I mean, I'm thinking especially of in the aftermath of October 7th and the global explosion of anti-Semitism. We've had COVID. Some very big podcasts like Tucker's and Joe's platform Holocaust deniers and revisionists, and it's been quite insane out there. And it's just, mean, that's just one piece of it. I mean, you can talk about COVID or Trump or Ukraine, or I mean, pick your ugly object out there. There's just a radical divergence of opinion into these echo chambers we build for ourselves, and it seems to be very difficult to cross political lines. I mean, it's somehow deeper than politics, actually. So anyway, I'm just increasingly worried about that, and I'm trying to hold up my side of the conversation in ways so as to cross those lines. But I'm just noticing that it's in many cases it's proving impossible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I am aware of that. It's actually part of the reason I thought it would be useful for us to talk today. So I want to think about how to respond to that to begin with. Well, I think the first thing that we should probably note is that this is a consequence of hyperconnectivity and stunning ease of communication, right? So, I mean,
Okay.
It's
so platforming the wrong people is dangerous. You could imagine that being true, I think, right? Like if suddenly Joe Rogan really started having all these like Nazi apologists and everything on it, and they make a convincing case, or people that promote communism, or people that promote racism, or whatever the thing is, whatever it is that we all know will be a detriment to society. If he did that, yeah, that it could be a problem. Because people believe it.
I would ask you how. Why would that be a problem though? Can you explain that steel man that for me?
The steel man is it gives people cover. So people have tendencies for kind of a tribal mindset, right? People want to fit in with people like them. People will believe the narrative that other people accept. And so if they see somebody prominent like Joe Rogan, like a Tucker Carlson, saying that, yeah, this is feasible, this is something that we could actually consider, this is okay to think, then yes, it could cause more people to start believing that. And because we live in a democratic system, if enough people believe that thing, it becomes part of the culture, the law.
Right. And I would argue it in the openness of the exchange of ideas. If a Joe Rogan did that, I think the correction system would be in place. Have we noticed issues with Ben Shapiro's audience, Jordan Peterson's audience, some others who we would, I would admittedly like idolize in a podcasting way. You know what I mean? Like I really admire just the way they think until it breaks apart, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was
look
curious.
At these two, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point
exactly.
I was like, hey, Sam Harris is kind of smart. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but
right,
he's saying some smart things. He's got some good points.
right.
He totally broke that. Peterson,
and you're
too.
right. Rogan's icon, but like Trump's like an icon. Same thing. That's why he's kind of uncancelable, because he kind of built it without that thing. He built it outside of the system to begin with,
Yeah. So, yeah, you could imagine, because like we just talked about at the beginning, the people that follow Trump, the people that kind of worship him, right? They're not thinking for themselves. They're just saying, hey, this is the guy. He said a few things that I like, so now I'm projecting everything I like onto him. And so I'm just, whatever he says, I trust him. That's it. Right?
I think Charlie Kirk is a good example.
That's not the good way. But hey, Charlie Kirk is actually saying some things against the war. He's being
didn't he flip-flop again?
Did he? I don't know.
Oh, so he did initially.
Okay.
And I think his last thing was a flip-flop. Just like Tulsi. Yeah, we're starting to see like cracking.
Yeah. Yeah. So
your point.
Anyway,
I'm just trying to, enhance your point that you're making here, is that we're idolizing these people who are the leaders, not the ideas from the people, and finding the best idea for all, or collectively.
Yeah. So Peterson, I learned a lot from him. I still think he's right about a lot of things, but he's also wrong about a lot of things.
His books are great.
Yeah.
I always recommend his books for sure.
Yeah. 12 Rules for Life. I've got both of them up on my shelf here.
Awesome.
He's good, but yeah, there are correction systems in place that are natural. That's what your point was. That's a really good point. You know, when they stop being truthful, when they start to break from reality, then people lose interest. And that's what we've seen happen with a lot of these people.
I brought up Theo Vaughn last week, I think, and like I'm challenged watching his podcast. I have very hard time. I have a hard time with the comedy. It just doesn't resonate. And apologies that it doesn't, but everybody, it's just like music. If it doesn't, I'm an like aural, AURAL. I'm an aural person. Like I like things that sound right to me. But when he does talk, I do find him authentic. I find it genuine. And that's something that you cannot, intellect cannot replace authenticity.
Yeah.
And you smell that. That's the correction system. As animals, we pick up on the fakeness of things.
And I don't remember who it was. Somebody said like, oh, we can't have Theo Vaughn. Maybe it was Douglas Murray. I think he said, if we have people like Theo Vaughn in charge of the discourse, and things are going very wrong. But
it's like he's in charge.
Yeah, he's not in charge of the
discourse because he's
like, explain it to me. I'm a dumb guy. Explain what's going on because I don't get it.
Right. But like that he's in charge of the discourse versus basically it's funny how they do it. They always say this, ready? The primary sponsor of terrorism was Iran. Israel propped up and funded Hamas. I don't give a shit if it's primary or not. It happened. You can bicker about how much percentage, but they did it as much as 2 weeks, as late as 2 weeks prior.
Well, the United States is the biggest funder of terrorism.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly. We, American, my tax dollars, yours, they all go there.
Yeah.
I got to put this up. Go ahead and share that.
Zach says, Theo isn't funny. He's a retarded pervert, but yes, he is authentic. Sometimes he's funny. I'll say he's funny sometimes.
No, sometimes it is funny. He had one that was hilarious. It's just because it's just like out of like the mouths of babes in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like it is very childlike the way he approaches it. But it is open.
Yeah, he is like that kind of dumb guy, right? That will ask the right questions sometimes because he's dumb enough not to know not to ask those questions.
Yeah, like talk himself out of it in some weird way.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and look, there's a genius in that. There is a genius in that. It's just not expressed the same way like you and I would see it. Like if we saw like an IQ thing or something like that, it's like maybe it might show up there, but it might not show up in something like that. It's a totally different vibe that he can, you know what I mean? Just channel. Yeah. And I do think it's like a childlike openness that he could just look and go, why? Like, and that I'll take it from an adult.
Or he's like, you're saying that, but I'm seeing what's happening and that's not matching. So like that's a really simple thing to do, but like you're saying this is happening, but here's what reality is. And for some reason, like the traditional media cannot do that. Like that it would be that simple, but they can't.
I've tried to watch these people. Look at the people who've left, the Lemons, the Cuomos. They are useless on their own without being propped up by CNN.
Yeah. So,
continue, sir.
So Sam and Jordan here are lamenting that we don't have this traditional one size fits all media anymore. And that's really the crux of my disagreement with them. But let's maybe keep moving and see what they say about it.
Right. And the hypocrisy is they weren't it when they broke in. Like I saw Ben Shapiro talking about Dave Smith getting on a TV show or something. And you're like, you're doing that from a podcast, bro. You know what I mean? The hypocrisy, like it's like if they keep yelling at us like Mark Levin style, that we just won't have it's almost like all the executive orders are done so fast. We our head spins. We can't even respond to the last one and 3 more came by us. You know what I mean? And I think that's just it is just information overload. I will shut up and I will hit play, sir.
it's obviously the case that the landscapes of communication that once held us together, for better or worse, are now so multiplicitous that they're numberless. And so what does that mean? I think what it means in part, and this is where I think our conversation might get particularly interesting, is that we don't have a shared story anymore. And I think a culture is literally a shared story. And a story is a structure. This is, been part of our ongoing discussion for a very long period of time, right? The relationship between the perceptual framing that is constituted by a story and, let's say, the domain of objective facts, right? This is a very thorny problem. But it seems to me that you have a culture when people share the same story or the same stories. They have the same shared reference points. And with an infinite landscape of communication, that fragments indefinitely. And then no one, see, Sam, let me tell you, I might as well, just to annoy you, just to get the ball rolling. I spent a lot of time thinking about the story of the Tower of Babel. And there's two stories in Genesis that describe how things go wrong. And one story is the flood, and that's...
We pause there. Before we get into the Tower of Babel story, just the idea that culture is a shared story is true, I think. So here's a place where I'm in agreement. Culture is a story we share. And when people talk about American culture, we have this story of we fought for freedom, independence from the British, and then we fought a war against each other to end slavery, and Americans are all about freedom, and that's it. Like, that's kind of the shared story. There's more to it, of course, but to keep it short, that's what we're dealing with. And of course, there are flaws in that story. We both know. People watching know, I'm sure. I don't think we live in a free country, but there's something about that idea that does keep, some sort of coherence, some sort of like, we can live together because we have this shared background as Americans, whether or not you were here at the time or not. We take immigrants. We're a place with the American dream. You can come here and do anything, and that's what people think of America. There's a lot of flaws again, but having that mythology behind it definitely keeps some sort of cohesion, some sort of like civility between people. So there's something to it. So I think he's right about that.
You're 100% correct about that. Okay. I thought he was continued talking here. Hold on a second. Okay. We are correct. Remember we talked about a nation versus a government versus a country and all that stuff? The culture and the nation, I would say, are almost more akin than the nation and the government. Right? The nation is the culture of the people, and that is our shared story. For the Americans who were born here, it is Merca, Crack Bell, Sewn Flag, all that fights, the crossing the Delaware, all that stuff. For people like my parents came over, it was bring us your tired and your poor. There were two stories, and obviously the immigration one has gone by the wayside just with the massive amount. It's not about watering down. It's just too quickly watered down. It's not integrated. It's like literally like layered, if that makes sense. And we're layering
I think
this,
there's like a split to the story, right?
Yes, so we're layering this new non-story over the ones like me being a first generation American, you being born here, probably multi generations, really American kind of thing.
Yeah. And I would bet that like conservatives generally are more attached to the story of like rebellion and, the American Revolution. We fought for our independence. Now we're independent states and all this small government, and liberals or, people, Democrats, I would say, again, generalizing, but they're more attached to that story of this is a place where all people can come together. It's a melting pot. We do our thing and anyone can come and be free and do their stuff. And Those are both stories of freedom, but that is already a split, and when you get, further through history, there's so many other things where it can split off and split off and split off, and keeping everyone together under one story has been impossible. And you see what's happening now. People are at each other's throats all the time.
Yeah, it is crazy. And it would be pretty easy to just push a campaign to have the two stories, because they don't exclude anyone. They actually just include who we are. It'd be really weird, but to your point, it's like, that second story, the stories that we talk about is like, bring us your tired, your hungry, poor, that is part of it. But this is not what it was. It's bring us the people that we've displaced with bombing around the country.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not the people you want. You don't want the people who are mad at you for bombing them out of their homes. That just doesn't sound like a nation can be built on that. Just saying. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just not natural. It's creating a problem and then pretending to solve it. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just too much. It's all been corrupted. So whatever freedom we used to have, or freedom was supposed to be enshrined with the Constitution and all that, has been just completely taken over, completely stomped on. It's not what people think it is. So that's why I call it a myth, is because not that it wasn't ever true, or that the ideas weren't there in people's minds when it happened, but it's gone now. We're not there anymore.
Yeah, I think you can, once you realize that it's just not there the way it was, you can slightly adjust yourself to stay as much out of it as possible, though. So it's like this, you and I are not talking about to complain about this. We're expressing this so people are aware of this, so they can amend their life in slightest ways to avoid some of the extra things that are impeding on their freedoms.
Yeah, and I think, if people had the ability to separate peacefully and to say, you know what, we don't have the same story, we don't share the same beliefs, we don't have the same foundational mythology that informs our life, if we could just, okay, hey, well, you guys have that one, we'll have this one, you don't have any control over what we do, we don't have any control over what you do, then I think we could get along just fine. We don't all have to be stuck under the same umbrella. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, 100%. I'm ready to play this again, and I am very excited when they talk Babel and this, because I've got these weird thoughts that are going to be coming from the outside, ladies and gentlemen.
Tower of Babel is a good analogy. It's a good story.
It really is, and and he gets into it a little bit. And once again, he has a lot of nuggets here, so I will certainly continue.
Consequence of absolute chaos bursting forth, essentially. But the Tower of Babel is a story about both totalitarianism and fragmentation. So what happens is the engineers get together, because that's who it is. It's the city builders, the tool makers, those who create weapons of war, the city builders, the engineers. They get together and they build these towers for the aggrandizement of the local potentates. So there was competition in the Middle East of that time to build the highest tower for the glory of the local ruler. And that presumption, so you can think about that as misaligned aim on the sociological front. The consequence of this misaligned aim is a kind of, because the aim of the culture is wrong. Words themselves lose their meaning. That's what happens in the story, right? Everybody ends up speaking a different language, and then the towers fall apart. So it's because the story that's being told is one of human self-aggrandizement. That's part of it. And the culture pathologizes and then disintegrates. And so I see that happening in our culture. There's a technological element of it, obviously, that technological utopians are driving this. The transhumanists are driving this. And we're aiming at the wrong goal. And the consequence of that is that our language is falling apart and we don't share the same reference points. That's part of what's happening. So I'm curious about what you think about that, how that fits in with your
thought to pause it. Tower of Babel, it's a good story. It's a biblical story for anyone that doesn't know. People think that, hey, we're going to get together and build this huge tower so we can reach God, so we can get to heaven. And when I was a kid, I thought that really just meant like, hey, don't try to reach God. You'll never get there. Like, don't literally build a tower to try to reach heaven. That's dumb. God will get mad at you. But what is going on, I think, is that people were not aligned. Again, like Jordan says, they were aiming at the wrong thing. So you're not going to get to God in this life. You're going to find other ways to get to him. So, and what happened is he confused everyone's language. People could not communicate with each other. And that's the analogy to what he's talking about, or where we are today with all this various information that we can have access to in different bubbles, that we can meet people and combine our delusions to become something bigger and lead us away from the truth, right? This is possible for all of us. So that's the analogy to the tower. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, before I continue, if you could do me a favor, let's include everybody. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us on a Monday night. We've got a bunch of people on Rumble, which is what we're pushing for. So thank you for everybody for migrating over there. Before we continue, go down there, drop the mask, go to If by Whiskey, go to Not Conscious, just click follow. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you. If you could like and share any of these episodes, we are beyond grateful. But with that comes our interaction, sir. So let me bring that up. If you could read that up for us, I will remove the banner over your face. Hopefully, let me see if I can get rid of that.
Oh, you can cover my face. No one wants to see it.
Oh, you good? Okay, you got a face for podcasting, do you?
Yeah.
All right, let me get back to the chat here. And we've got Justin on. So go ahead, sir, if you could.
Justin said, how does a shared land end up divided into multiple different countries? Exactly because people can't end up all staying under one shared belief, like you said. Yeah. I think the beliefs just
the Civil War.
Yeah, beliefs just fracture and fracture. People have different interests, different goals, and eventually it becomes too much. And since the Civil War, like you mentioned, people thought, hey, we've got different beliefs. Some of it was about slavery. Some of it was different. We just didn't want to be all controlled. That's what they were saying. We don't all want to be under the same control. Abraham Lincoln took that upon himself to say, nope, you're not getting out. You are stuck in this relationship in perpetuity. You will never be free. You will never control yourself. And people have taken that as gospel and said, okay, well, the Civil War solved all that. There's no more breaking up. But I think that's not the case.
We forced you to share democracy together.
Yeah, I think we would be a lot better off splitting up at this point.
I mean, the Confederation of Article of Confederation was slightly different, right? Than the thing. Part of that put almost all the states. Basically, each state was a tribe, and the shared goal was to protect everybody else's goal of staying a tribe. Like the shared goal was so deep and like basic and foundational. And I don't know how we got away from that. Is I want to be free. I know you also declared you want to be free. So if there's an infringement on any of our freedoms, we must unite at that moment to expand, to eliminate that infringement, and then we can continue with our live and let live lives. I know that sounds basic, but that's kind of where it's at. I did want to share something about this. This makes me think about Occupy Wall Street.
Okay.
Occupy Wall Street is the Babel story. But I'm wondering, it was the administration that whispered in the ear of, look, if everyone remembers, Occupy Wall Street was so diverse. Tim Pool cut his teeth kind of on Occupy Wall Street. Many people got prominence from Occupy Wall Street, but it was left, right, center, conservative. Look where Tim Pool is now compared to what he started with when he was Occupy, right? So look at that. What they did was they saw the general movement. I'm thinking the anti-war movement similar to this. They're trying to break that up as well. But it's this other group that they needed to bifurcate somehow. So what did they use? Race, sex, blah, blah, blah. While Obama got elected for a second term, we were the most racist country. Like, let's not kid ourselves, everybody. You were bamboozled. You were bamboozled. So what happened was Occupy Wall Street was torn apart by this exact thing. Their languages changed. They stopped speaking the same language. The organization fell apart. What happened? No one was.
Yeah, the government came in and played God, confused everybody's language, started pointing them at the wrong things.
100%. So it's not just a God look at, it's like a hierarchy almost. Be careful, the hierarchy whispering in your ear, because they will confuse you. Because I mean, I wonder what God is. What would Jordan Peterson say God is in this moment? Who's whispering in their ear to mess them up because they want to build it? Unless that's a false idol, which I don't know if that was for falsity. I don't know if it was before or after Moses. Like, I don't know the timeline. I wasn't there, so I haven't been.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's a little different because God said, "Hey, you guys are aiming at the wrong thing. This is wrong."
Right. So
in the case, government is not God, but a lot of people do treat them as God. And so they were able to accomplish a similar thing. But of course, they were saying, you're aiming at the right thing. Knock it off. We're going to confuse you.
Right. We're going to confuse you by telling you you're aiming at the wrong thing. Right. So, and that's the thing is like, it becomes like a whodunit.
So government is Satan. That's what we get
out
of this story.
It's not God. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
Shall I continue, sir?
Go ahead.
Your concern, your emergent concern, like when you say fragmentation, Sam, what is it that you think is fragmenting? Because it's not the objective view of the world precisely, although the scientific enterprise even seems to be shaky and corrupt and falling apart in many ways.
Well, so I agree with that. I think the analogy to Babel is quite apt. And I don't think bringing Doge into Babel would have helped much. I think it is technological. Yes, I mean, there's just the fact that there's, because of I think largely it's a story of social media, but it's really the internet generally, because of the information technology we have built. People can find endless confirmation of whatever their cherished opinion is, and it's no longer
unless you're a libertarian.
There's some cultural immune system that has been lost, right? If you had to go to the physical conference out in the real world to meet the other people who were sure they've been abducted by UFOs. Well, then you'd be meeting these people. You would see the obvious signs of dysfunction in their lives, and there'd be more friction to the maintenance of this new conviction, just based on the collision with other ancillary facts that have social relevance to you. But online, I mean, again, this even precedes social media. This is true of the internet back in the late 90s. You can just go down a rabbit hole and find endless confirmation that's fairly anonymized, right? The 20-minute documentary that blew your mind and convinced you that the World Trade Center towers were brought down by the Bush administration. You didn't know that was made by some 18-year-old in his mother's basement, and you didn't have to know that. You were just.
I got enough. So, yeah, you're muted again.
I heard the littlest peep from you. I was right on the trigger. I was waiting to pause. I've been itching to pause for like 8 times in this whole.
Yeah, go ahead, man. What do you got?
After you, sir, please.
The main point in there, he's saying so we have this confirmation bias, right? That's become, everyone knows that at this point. You go online, you can find people that agree with you. You'll find a lot of people that don't. If you're a libertarian or an anarchist, you're going to find a lot less people, but there's still, it kind of seems unlimited, right? You can get the same people coming back to you and saying, oh yeah, that's great. He says having to meet people in person reveals the illusion. So he talks about crazy people like at a UFO conference or something. They go meet each other and they realize, oh, there's just like some loser that lives in their mom's basement. Why would I listen to this guy? And when you're online, you have that advantage of anonymity. So do you think that's right? Do you think he's on point here?
Can you please read your note that you have in the notes? Because I
I
have
would
to
say,
talk about it.
have you met libertarians? Because when you go meet these people, I love you guys. I love you, but
We are the Autism Society of America. It is unbelievable how absolutely amazing Freedom Fest and how like odd it is. Because
yeah,
certainly, first of all, autism is I don't it's all I can't imagine what that's like. So it is unfortunate, but there are some super high functioning. Like, first of all, anyone who's on their own walking around, regardless of how they act, they are high functioning autists. Okay. That is what high functioning means. They can walk around on their own, they can handle their own stuff, they're autonomous. Okay. But then there's super high functioning. There's some gentlemen I met, and you look in their eyes, and they're like, if Elon took like every PCP, shot him up with steroids, and then like took some testosterone, that's like the level of thinking that you can see the processing happen. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all over the place. But you're right. But then you get people who go to these same conferences, like a Brett Weinstein, who was a total lefty, admittedly, and then came across his thing, and he's like, libertarians have it pretty much right. We just got to figure out how to put it into governance. And he's kind of got it. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, you're right. It's crazy, but like,
but they meet these crazy people, and then it doesn't turn them away. It just makes them more into it, I guess.
Yeah, it intrigues them too. They're intriguing. It's like a museum piece, right? But look, I've shared my weird story of stuff. I would hope that most people who have seen us talk would find me lucid, and like that doesn't get in there in a weird way where I'm talking like Gwyneth Paltrow. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, then you have to ask yourself, because he's going back to like, well, all these alternative sources are no good, but where are the good ones? Like, are you really wanting to go back? Are you really?
I won't make you read that. I'm just gonna put it up. I don't want.
I gotta read it. Justin said, "People with autism probably can't imagine what it's like either." Hey, trust me, we know.
Libertarians, Freedom Fest visitors, please chime in right now or cancel us.
I'm very aware that I'm weird. I know.
Yeah. So this is the problem with the echo chamber thing. It's almost like, well, obviously the algorithm does it. If you just didn't have an algorithm and just stuff got put up as it was posted, you would have to manually search for everything. That way stuff would scroll that you would not have anything to do with, but it could pique your interest. Maybe one time you do click on it. So shut off the algorithm, shut off the echo chamber, open the doors. Let some air in. How about that? I don't know. Is that a solution, or would that just be too much trash?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think you're gonna have to let the people. You're gonna have to let the crazies find each other. You're gonna have to let them build their own little bubbles.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to solve it by being more open than even closed, right? So like I'm trying to even be more liberty minded without I'm trying not to clamp it more
down. Talking. Make fun of those people. We have to be allowed to make fun of people.
Dude, you're just a Democrat. If you weren't such a lefty, you wouldn't. If Hillary wouldn't have given that uranium to the Iranians, jeez.
Oh yeah, well, it's okay when Hillary does. No, but I got it. On that point, man, it's just like, so you're admitting that what Trump is doing is wrong, but because Hillary also did it, then it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Shall I continue, sir?
Yeah. Is there an option to go like faster to make it speed up?
I thought, I can do it. I'll do 125. Everybody good with 125?
Harris is such a slow talker.
We're 10 whopping minutes into this, guys, but it's just fun. We're just having a good chit chat. We'll probably do 2 episodes, but we'll stop it after that. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yeah.
Because I've got a busy week.
I'm speaking for everybody.
Looking at the product online, but if you had to meet this person, all of a sudden you'd realize that this is the maintenance of this fiction becomes quite a bit harder. So we're living now, I think, in the second generation of that moment where it really is bottomless. I mean, the ocean of misinformation and half-truth and misunderstanding is bottomless. And the tools we have built to rectify misunderstandings and to spot lies and to be better truth seekers are there, but they have been, in some sense, this is asymmetric warfare. They're no match for the information waste product that can be produced more quickly, right? I mean, this is just the old
Well, it's
problem.
easier to produce noise than signal, obviously.
Yeah,
Right.
or pseudo signal. Yeah, I mean, there's so much that purports to be signal, right? And again, this is probably socially more inconvenient for you than it is for me. But I mean, many of your bedfellows or former bedfellows are the principal parts of this problem. I mean, they're the gods and goddesses on this landscape. I'm thinking of someone like Candace Owens, who's quite literally trafficking in blood libels now on her incredibly popular podcast. I mean, she's just.
I had to stop it.
What do you know about blood libels, Mark?
I can tell you that Sam Harris is absolutely full of shit, is what I can tell you.
Yeah,
Okay?
I can't say exactly what Candace Owens says on her podcast. I've only heard her
I
a few
can,
times.
because I watch it. I watch it all the time. I watch it with
So
Ian Carroll. Anyway, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
So which blood libels is she guilty of?
No, she's claiming, okay, now, I do not go as far as Candace. I do not say Israel are responsible for foreign policy in American foreign policy. But that doesn't mean that Israel aren't responsible for driving Middle Eastern foreign policy. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an all or nothing here. Candace makes it kind of an all thing. I think it's to be provocative. I do. But they're after her, ladies and gentlemen. There have been attempts. I think there's been at least one attempt from what I've heard. She's not letting go. She's on Macron's wife being a man. And obviously the whole age thing. She is on Epstein. She is on with Ian Carroll. And once again, Ian Carroll is one of these dissenters. Now, I love that Sam Harris has such the strength to be able to eviscerate her name without being able to ever talk with or to her. And I mentioned her once, I won't mention her again, but she's a bitch, or whatever. It's like he just kind of brushes her off to, like, he has to mention her name, like this Dave Smith guy. So just as a thing, I got this debate on Thursday, so I'll mention a little bit more of it. But I said, hey, just so you know, I'm trying to come from good faith. My arguments are based in like Scott Horton, Dave Smith, and all that. He writes back, Dave Smith the comedian. I know Dave Smith the comedian, and I'm like, dude. Really? Like, first of all, there's no other Dave Smith anywhere. So you just say, I know Dave Smith. He had to type the comedian. And you're like, that's a dig. That's just an absolute dig. It's unnecessary to be like, you're like, yeah, I know him. Cool. Thanks. Right? Totally silly. And that's how these people act. And it pisses me off. It makes me want to like it.
Yeah,
it makes me angry.
Dave Smith, self-hating Jew. Yeah, it's just like, it's all that, they put the description to make sure that you know exactly how you should feel about it before you even get to the content.
Yep, that's what it is, man. It's so crazy.
Anyway,
Continue?
So blood libels,
sorry,
by the way, for people that didn't know, it's an actual thing where they used to accuse Jewish people of murdering Christian children for sacrifices and to use their blood in rituals for like Passover or whatever. But this happened like in the 12th century. So this is a very old thing. People accuse them of
transitioned to just killing Christians, isn't it? Kind of.
Now it's expanded to mean like anything that you say bad about Jews, or even the state of Israel, which is what we're talking about. We're not talking about Jewish people. And
she is claiming the death of Christians here. She does claim that on her podcast. Now, look, I don't go as far as Candace. I just find Candace extremely compelling. She's onto something. There's truth behind it. You just, once again, everybody's got a side. Even we have a side and we don't have a side. It's still a side. I know it's weird, but like, you just got to filter and then filter the facts from that stuff and go, okay, what does reason logic tell you? That's kind of where, passing the smell test kind of thing.
Yeah. But yeah, basically blood libels means nothing at this point. It's just something that sounds extra scary to make you stop talking.
Yeah, it's like calling basically anti-Semitic, but we'll get to that one too. All right, here you go, sir. Here you go.
All
It's
right.
gone berserk as far as I can tell. And yet, what is the style of conversation that would disconfirm all of that for her audience? At this point, I don't know, because I think what's happened is we've trained up a culture of people or cultures of people that simply don't care about facts. Really, they want a story that aligns with their in some sense their confirmation bias. I mean, they have certain things they want to believe. There's certain ideas they like the taste of, and then they just want people catering to that appetite, and there's a good business in that.
I know as a clinical psychologist that any given teenager is going to fall prey to peer pressure from time to time. Or mess you're going to have to clean.
All right, do we want to pause there?
Oh yeah,
I mean, confirmation bias. This is
we'll keep
new.
Daily Wire up there to really advertise them because they're high quality.
Little Daily Wire. If anyone has a subscription, go ahead and cancel. You're not missing anything.
Yeah, cancel. Probably good. You know what? At least don't auto subscribe, auto re-up or something. Like let it lapse.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So confirmation bias. Yes, that's a thing. Yes, everyone's guilty of it. But that's not new. This existed before this landscape of alternative media that you're so concerned about, Sam Harris.
The problem is technology and algorithms, though. It really is.
Problem. It's amplified.
Yes.
We amplified it. That's all I got.
Oh, I thought you stopped, and then you actually said what I just said. Oh man, we're like completing each other's sandwiches.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amplified, and that's the thing. Brett Weinstein, what's the book about he and Heather Heining, his wife, 21st century, whatever, basically troglodytes trying to figure out the technology or whatever.
Yes, the hunter-gatherer's guide to the 21st century. Yes,
100%. We are not prepared to these. Like Carl Sagan even saw it coming. You know, it's like 30-second clips are gonna be 10-second clips or less. What are we doing right now? What are we at? We're at TikTok. We're in TikTok swipe mode. Boom, bang, bink, bonk, bomp. Next thing, shiny metal object. It has rewired our brains. Actually, rewired our brains. The stuff that lights up, it's like almost like an EMDB or EMDP or EMPD or whatever that, you know what I mean? The thing that like rewires your brain. So we have watch these kids' attention span. They have none, like literally none. And these long format are like for us Gen X and boomers that are going to die off soon.
Mm-hmm. I got nothing. Let's keep moving.
Okay, let's keep moving. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, part of that, I think, is the consequence of the fact that we have to ground our perceptions in an axiomatic framework. And this has been my concern with the primacy of the story right from the beginning. And I think the deeper question is, you know, is there some necessary structure to that fundamental axiomatic framework? You know, the postmodernist claim was that the fundamental postmodernist claim is that there is no uniting meta-narrative, right? We live in the postmodern world now. The postmodern world is a place of local truths. And the French intellectuals, they not only decided that was necessary and an improvement. And now we see the consequences of that. We're in a landscape of infinite narratives. And the question is, how do you
So here's where I think he makes a decent point. This is the landscape we're kind of living in. It does seem like it's on purpose, at least a little bit. The attempt to bastardize and completely alter our historical narratives is a problem, right? That's something that has
statues, renaming things, rewriting history, just removing history, even removing bad history, for example.
Yeah, and sometimes it's necessary if we're following a wrong path. So if, like he said, if we get in the wrong aim, if we're looking at stories in a way that doesn't get us to a good place, it might be a good time to try to change or make new stories, you know, try to rally people around a different story. But to go in and say that all your stories are bad because this guy owned slaves, you know, George Washington owned slaves, therefore he couldn't have done anything good. That's a bastardization of history that points us in the wrong direction.
I was talking with Mike Decentralized about it, and we were talking. Jefferson came up and was like, he wanted everybody freed initially, and people were like, you're not going to get the unity you need. It's kind of like the coalition thing. You weren't going to get the South if you did that. So you needed this, whatever the colonies were, whatever, you needed all hands on deck. You needed something that, you know what I mean? You couldn't have any, to your point, greater goal than the initial freedom of something to lead to the initial freedom of all, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's a good thing that slavery existed.
No. It was just like a realism of the reality of life.
Where were we before? And then where were we after? Was it a step in the right direction? Probably. Right. And I'm willing to hear arguments that it wasn't, because I'm also not a big fan of what America has become. But, you know, at least the ideals behind it, again, like we talked about, the freedom, individual rights, all these things were a new thing at the time. And maybe we didn't know exactly how to go about it. Maybe we still couldn't get out of the headspace where it's like, we still need this central government to protect everything, you know, and maybe we're evolving away from that. I hope, but I don't know. Maybe I don't feel very confident in that. I think people are moving in the wrong direction again.
Well, I mean, the forefathers had some brilliant, like, foresight about things. They understood the human condition. I don't think they realized that the shot heard around the world would turn from 9 months to like 9 seconds on a tweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
We had, while the plane was still like running off the runway, there was that San Francisco Japanese flight was like was already like being uploaded. It was almost like Periscope, like live. Like, get out of here, man. So
what you're saying is
he's gonna Kathy Newman me. No. Okay, go ahead. What I'm saying.
So what you're saying is we shouldn't have social media. The founders never intended the First Amendment to apply to social media because that didn't exist back then. So you should ban it.
Can't ban it all. No, I say we should have more. Like I said, I don't think we should have algorithms, because if you just post literally as the people post, that's completely random. There's no way around that. I mean, you could get armies together to post at the same time, you know, to like push for something, but they do that now for trending. So like, the trending could be the thing, but it shouldn't drive. The trending should just be like a reference to what they're talking about, not like the driver of, if that makes
free
sense.
social media market.
Yeah, there you go. How about this, my friend? Go ahead and read that for us.
Justin called me out. He said, look at you NAP guys trying to damage the business of a company with different beliefs. Shame.
We're allowed to vote with our dollar, boys. There is a cancel culture, but it's called vote with your dollar. Bud Light was a very big prime example of that.
Hey, I did reply to him. I said, you're right. Shame on me. Do whatever you want.
I did see that. Oh, man, that's pretty good. All right, sir. Shall I continue?
Anyway, yeah, let's keep it going.
All right, cool.
How do you define a rank order of narratives such that some are valid and some are invalid? You know, the idea of misinformation is obviously predicated on the notion that certain narratives are invalid. And that seems self-evident to me. I wouldn't exactly call myself a fan of the direction that Candace Owens has decided to walk down, but I'm not going to say anything more about her. And so, you know, what I've been trying to struggle with is, and this has been the basis of many of our discussions in the final analysis, is what is the proper grounding for a narrative framework? And I mean, my understanding of your position is that that's why you've turned right from the beginning to the world of objective fact, so to speak. But the problem is that there's a lot of facts, and which ones to prioritize and which ones to ignore is a very thorny question. And, you know, one of the things you referred to obliquely was that, well, when you and I were young, because we're about the same age, I think you're 4 years younger than me, we had narratives that united us as a culture. There was a certain well, there were fewer people. There was more ethnic homogeneity, at least in the local environments in the world. There were information brokers that were extraordinarily powerful. The universities, the newspapers, the TV stations, the radio stations, and they weren't very easy to get access to, and they had gatekeepers, and at least some of the time, those gatekeepers seemed meritorious as well as arbitrary. And,
Okay.
it could.
I'll let it go a little bit. So first, his question was which, there's a lot of facts out there, right? But which ones do we know to prioritize? Which do we know to ignore? And the framing around this question, I take issue with, because he's implying that there should be someone there telling you which ones.
That's the problem. There's the rub.
Yes. So what do you think?
All right.
Heavy sigh?
Yeah, heavy sigh. So I don't know if you heard that. I think we need to change our podcast to heavy sigh, man. Like some of these things we hear, we're just like, oh, they did it. You know what I mean? It's just like
I do. Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, the hierarchy, he's correct. We do have to have a hierarchy of structure. But I can tell you, my parents, this is when they came to America. Okay. My dad came at 19, did not speak a lick of English. My mom came at like 13, 15, something like that. No, like 11, 12, something like that. Anyway, they named their children American names. I'm Mark. Like, it wasn't a German. I wasn't like Heinrich or like,
Mark sounds a little German.
Well, my dad's Wolfgang, so it's
that's the name of their money, for God's sakes.
I wasn't Luther, like Lutheran, like
German Marks.
That would have
Are
been
you
more
kidding
German.
me?
What's that? Yeah, the Mark German. Yeah, you're right. I'm German money.
Mark?
Right, you're right. Okay,
I'm on.
Right. Well, they were gonna call me Keith, but the problem was Keith in German would sound like kite, so they didn't want to do that to them. So they just, they came up with a decent. My brother's Kevin. You know what I mean? Like pretty Irish name, pretty little Irish name. So that's where it happened.
So you're appropriating Irish culture.
Gatekeeper alert, gatekeeper alert. Hold on, good. So I will share this though. Before we share that, I'll keep that up. But basically, they Americanized us. We spoke German only in response to them in the house, and they spoke English to us. So they would help, you know what I mean? So it would help them acclimate. Acclimation was so vital to them. Being part of the community was so vital to them. They felt that was important. That was their German culture. But when you see, even at a Germantown, you do have, Little China, where they don't even speak a lick of English in Chinatown. Not a lick of English, okay? That is not a complaint. That is just a cultural thing. Now, we accept that, and I totally welcome that. But at the same point, I love that my parents assimilated us and didn't have, like, little carnicerias. We're in Arizona, okay? Carniceria on every block selling llanteras, which are tires, by the way, if you don't know, LANTERAS. Like, sorry, that's not like, I don't feel neighborly when people like intentionally aren't, assimilating to what the culture they move to. And that, to your point, like when we talk about a shared story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's something there. I forgot what I was going to say now.
I'm so sorry.
What was he talking about? He was talking about
gatekeepers.
Which facts to prioritize? Gatekeepers. Yeah, gatekeepers. So this is what I was talking about, right?
Prioritizing hierarchies. Yeah, good.
Yeah, like he's almost like longing for the days of when there was this shared culture and everything. And again, I get it. It helps if you're going to live in a nation, if you're going to be in a society, it helps to have this shared culture. So to your point, where people come in and don't assimilate and do all that, it does cause a fracture. Now, that doesn't necessarily bother me. There are times when that's fine. I don't care. But yes, if you're going to live together, if you're going to have the same, I will say governance, in the sense not of a government, but the same rule, the same structure, that makes it very difficult when you don't. Right. So he's almost longing for this thing. Like, oh, I wish, we could go back to this time when we had 4 media companies controlling every single thing that you saw on television or radio. There was no internet. That was it. You got 4 giant corporations that control everything. And of course, they're in bed with the government. So that's
but we don't know that, though. We didn't know that.
That's what we're talking about.
Right. We wouldn't know that.
Oh, maybe they didn't know at the time, but we know now.
But we wouldn't also either, because we wouldn't have the current technology to share that they're full of shit.
Right. So think about what you're asking here. And he hasn't said it directly, but what I think he's getting, to use Sam's term, dangerous, this dangerous thought pattern here is leading us back to where we didn't have other people saying things that the government didn't agree with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay. I don't know. It's like, I'm trying to figure out how to like attack him in the right way, and not him per se, but the ideas. Like, he's talking about setting up the hierarchy priorities. That's totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. But culturally, people are different, but the whole point of coming here is that there should be sharing something ideologically similar. And that's kind of let us be. But he wants to control how we get what we get in some weird way. He just says it so around the way that he doesn't say it at all. And then he can go and say, well, I'm not saying that. And you're like, dude, you're not. It's like Zionism. It's like, we want Israel to have a state. Okay, what does that entail? Well, basically it entails bombing the fuck out of every other country so they are subservient to you. Like, literally, that's what that entails. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what you're going to do in step 1, but it leads to that. Like, we see pattern recognition, and we see causality, and we see human condition. We just know where it goes. And like broken records, like continuously, we always get amped up. Obviously, people talk us off the ledge, but we do get amped up because we get excited about, like, once again, guys, here's another example. This is why you don't do it next time. Next time, maybe 1 or 2 people don't, right? Like, let me put up this comment, if you will. I will shut up if you'd like to read this. Justin has some great stuff again.
Yeah, I really like this comment from Justin. He says, you either trust that people are smart enough to be able to decipher what is true from what is false, what is beneficial from what is harmful, or you don't. And if they can't, then don't let them vote. Yes. That's my whole reason for existing right now. You summed it up perfectly. Can people be trusted for that? Yes or no? And I think 99% of the time, the answer is no.
I'll add to that, my friend. Voting used to be tied to property ownership. Property ownership was tied to personal responsibility because you had to take care and maintain the property. Lack of property ownership is generally associated with a lack of responsibility in general. That's just logic and reason. Now, what I would like, let's open up the public land for people who can't, who have been saving forever to try to buy something, get some kind of, not a program through the government, something together, start doing that, and then changing that back to property ownership equaling a vote. And then everybody, do it. Public land, you and I probably agree that technically shouldn't exist, but something like that.
You could certainly improve on the system that we have. You could certainly improve on democracy. It doesn't need to be everybody votes on everything. And Justin needs to be on air right now, live with a whiskey and a face reveal. Amen, brother. Amen. We'll get him.
Yeah, he's got a face for podcasting. It's pretty funny. Hey, we will get you on. We did talk because he got mad that I didn't invite him on the one with Zach, but I was sharing stupid stories. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hey, before we continue, may I just share what's going on this week and how crazy this week is?
Yeah, you're a busy man. What's going on?
So, you remember I had like 11 podcasts in 14 days or something like in January, and I was like fried out. But it was like I have to say yes. I will not say no. I will not say no. So, Thursday I scheduled a debate, kind of a debate conversation. Basically, I said Israel or Russia. they enacted an unprovoked attack on a sovereign nation. Changed my mind. He responded. I said we have a debate. Now, this is what happened, and I'm going to share it now so you can reference it. I'm going to put it on recording because I'm a chicken shit or something or whatever. I'm ducking the debate. Okay.
Yeah, we know.
So due to scheduling conflict, you couldn't make it. So I had planned the 3rd of July, but
No, I'm also just a chicken shit. That's all.
No, dude, we had an absolute scheduling issue. So the 3rd I was gonna do it on the 3rd of July, which he's available. Cool. I have no life apparently on the 3rd of July either. So let's do it. But Trump put in that 14 days. So I'm like, crap, because you couldn't do it at all. Right. 14 days to stop the Kurds. Something like that.
To slow the spread of nuclear bombs.
No, to slow the Kurds is what it is.
Yeah.
To slow the Kurds.
Yeah.
That's what it is. 14 days to slow the Kurds. That was a Brett Weinstein, by the way. But my point is so basically what happened was because the 14 days, I'm like, cool, let me put it this week because there's time. Because my point was, even in the thing I said, I even said in good faith, I'm probably going to lean it more towards American intervention and having us to deal with it at all. That's going to be a big part of my chunk of my argument because I don't think we should be involved. Israel doing whatever they do, that's part of it. Okay, so I did mention that, but I didn't mention anything about I moved it up because of 14 days. What does he need to know about that? To be completely honest, I didn't think to tell him hey, I'm trying to move it up because 14 days, but clearly I moved it up as early as I could. Because it's this week and I'm not even that prepared for it. Plus, so I spent a couple days to put stuff together, and then Trump does what he does. Sir, can you authorize an airstrike in the voice of Trump, please?
What am I saying?
You're authorizing an airstrike, please, for us. If you on 3 nuclear sites.
We're gonna hit the 3 nuclear sites. I don't know how to pronounce their names, but Fordo is one of them. That's all I know. We're gonna get them. We're gonna go to Iran. We're gonna send the bombs, and that's it.
So exactly. So
and then it's time for peace.
So I saw that, and I went from 0 to 3,000 like I always do, and I immediately went and messaged this guy, and I said, hey, I'm not gonna debate you now. It's a moot point because the United States already interfered. To me, I felt like I'd scream. I can't scream to stop something that already happened. Okay. So yes, I went 0 to 3,000. Was I'm not interested in doing the debate because it's a moot point from my perspective. Now I could be wrong or not, whatever. Dude's I'm ducking. I'm look, I was going to talk about the American intervention. We've now intervened. I can't stop. Like I said, I can't stop something I've started. He continues. I might get crushed on Thursday because he compelled me to change my mind. So I'm we're back on. We're going to do it. I'll mention it all later. But basically I'm going to send him a link after this so I can put up, the graphics for the not conscious one, so I can change everything. But basically that's the story of how it was. So I did cancel. Yes. But the reasoning was absolutely because we had already interfered. And I'm that's what I'm really interested in our issue is that we shouldn't have done it. And again, but what's great is this. Now it's not Israel or Russia. Israel and America are now Russia because we did two Pearl Harbors back to back. We distracted them with the peace talks while Israel did the first shot. We told them 14 days and did it within 24 hours or something, 48, whatever. So what are your thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, you're convincing me more on the Israel is Russia thing. Because let's look at Russia, right? Russia wasn't, we'd say, an aggressor in that case to some extent, not unprovoked, but
I did say unprovoked attack, but only to be glib because of Scott Horton and his greatness.
Yeah, right. So you got to take that into account in your analogy, right? Russia attacked Ukraine, of course. We condemn that. We don't like that. But it's not like nothing happened before that, right? So, yeah, and you could say maybe Iran was messing with Israel. Maybe there is. Yeah, there's a ceasefire. We talked about that at the beginning. get your last gunshots in, go murder a few more people, but then we're done. Right. So there's ceasefire. But yeah, anyway.
Why do you think Putin ramped up? But that's a whole other. Go ahead, continue.
So I don't also think Iran is innocent in this. Right?
They are not.
Okay.
No, Iran. Okay, Iran sponsors terrorism.
Yeah.
Hate to do whataboutism, but America installed the people who celebrated the building and actually their leaders who did the building thing in Syria. And we installed the Shia regime, who are friends of Iran, into Iraq after eradicating the Sunnis and bringing democracy, which is majority Shia, into the fold. So now we made Iraq buddies. So that's 0 for 2. Let's go 0 for 3. Hey, can you remind me what happened to Afghanistan when we pulled out?
I seem to recall some weapons being left behind.
Like $8 billion
The
worth,
same terrorist group that we tried to take out took back over the country. So yeah.
Come Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana, something like that. Come Mr. Taliban.
Yeah.
Like seriously, we just strike the fuck out every time. Look what we do with Libya when we freed Libya because they gave up their nuclear, and now it's the largest sex slave market, completely destabilized. Terrorism didn't exist in Africa until we destroyed Libya. There was zero terrorism, and you can talk bad guys all you want. You can talk bad, but bad stabilizes areas. Greater areas stabilize regions that we have no business disrupting, to be honest. To your point, natural law tends to dictate.
Yeah. So I would say the only place your analogy breaks down, Russia is kind of its own center of power.
Yeah. It was totally glib to be. It was totally to be provocative for sure.
It's the big boy, right? Israel is not without its own power, but it would not be what it is without the United States backing it up. So,
well, I want to give a shout out to Retard News. Peace, Retard News, at Retard News on X Twitter. Okay, I sent them a screenshot. You guys all remember Christmas Story? Remember the bully and then his little friend? Basically, his little friend, the instigator, is Israel. And America's the big bully who actually can do the damage. So I don't know if you saw it on my X feed. I think I put it up on Facebook too. But thank you again to Retard News, because basically they put up the Twitter of basically the kids America, the little kids Israel. And then he had one with like the Israeli, like the Star David on one and the American flag and draped in the American flag. And then one with Bibi Netanyahu's face looking over at Trump. It's classic. The meme. I love memes. They are the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do that before we continue, sir.
Yeah, Justin says the U.S.'s previous regime changes doesn't change what the threat is. What Israel faces from Iran. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's kind of it's not untrue, but it doesn't make it truth, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It's a threat, man. Yeah, and so like,
and arguably, do you think Iran does not feel threatened by Israel? Like, just from 92 million of them that are there, which is what, 9 times the size in population, and 86 times the size in landmass, by the way.
Yeah. Right. So when Israel went in and bombed Iran to start this thing off, I wouldn't even say start. This isn't the start of anything.
No.
Things were happening long before that. There's been back and forth forever.
Causality.
But it is an escalation. Things were relatively peaceful until that happened. And I don't know what was going on with the nukes. Maybe there really was something. I find it hard to believe. I'm going to need a little bit more proof on this than just our intelligence says so. Because
the intelligence didn't say so. The intelligence literally said the opposite 2 months ago.
Yeah, our intelligence said the opposite.
No takesy backsies, Tulsi. No takesy backsies. Sorry.
Yeah. Our intelligence literally said the opposite until that day when it happened. Then all of a sudden,
Let's look at, once again, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi. Look at the Epstein stuff. No one's talking about, right? They pulled back on that. Watch these people flip flop 100. It's not a shift off 20 degrees to a like a wait and see or something. It just goes, what? Nope. Just trust us. It's exactly the opposite of everything you've thought and everything we've been yelling about for 2 years. So like, I can't trust the flip flop.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Forgive me if I need a little more evidence than just we said so.
Un poquito.
Yeah. Just a little more. But anyways.
All right. Let's continue a little bit.
Yeah.
We got 20 minutes before we call it a day. We're having a great time. Once again, we've got 30 people on. First of all, I am truly grateful that you guys join us on a Monday. This is Jason down here, okay? If you haven't met Jason, say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Okay, that's Jason. There's this thing, Rumble. Drop the mask. So go to Drop the Mask on Rumble. First of all, everybody who's not on Rumble, get on Rumble. It's a party. I'm telling you, it's a party. I am looking on Rumble. Right now, we've got over half the people who are on Rumble. So let's get over to Rumble. Let's bring it on over. Actually, a third of the people are on Rumble. So let's get the other 2/3 over. Rumble.com/ifbywhiskey. Click on that little button. Join us. Follow us. But you got to go to Drop the Mask too. So do that. We are so grateful. With that, I will continue. We are dissecting Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris. All right, sir. You ready?
Peterson.
All right, buddy, here you go.
Could easily be that the fragmentation of the landscape is a consequence of technological revolution and also perhaps of the, well, you had pointed to the irresponsibility of the participants in that landscape. I mean, I think it's also, or even more primarily, that they're flooded with information and finding it very difficult to keep up.
Well, they're also just not disposed to function by the old norms that the gatekeepers, I mean, for all their faults, they had standards, right? I mean, the
right,
New York
I know,
Times
but
standard.
But Sam, those, I agree with you, but I also would say that those institutions, the gatekeeping institutions, have also revealed themselves as catastrophically flawed in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, I'm interested in your take on this. Like, you brought up October 7th and the rise of anti-Semitism, and I've been tracking that with a couple of friends of mine, and we've been spending a lot of time fighting it off in all sorts of ways, some of which are public and some of which aren't. And I'm appalled by it. What's happened in Canada on the anti-Semitic front since October 7th is something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. It embarrasses me to the core. My goddamn government came out the other day, those bloody liberals, and they talked in the aftermath of October 7th about combating Islamophobia, as if that's Canada's problem, which it isn't. And so, and then, you saw what happened across the United States and Canada with regard to the universities, Columbia University in particular, and their absolute silence and complicitness while these terrible demonstrations were going on. Not that I think that the demonstrations themselves should have been, well, we can talk about that.
Terrible demonstrations.
Letting terrorist radicals take over the universities doesn't strike me as a very good solution. So I'm curious.
Dude, he pisses me off.
They're demonstrating against Islamophobia, you hear? And that's just, well, that's not Canada's problem, eh?
Here, I just want this in recording. Anti-Semitism did not rise until you told us to look at your victimhood. That's just a fact. You told us to look. Watch the 40 beheaded babies. That didn't happen, by the way. Watch the 1,200 people, of like 400 of them you blew the fuck up at the thing with the helicopters and have you seen the cars that are all blown up? Like, literally, it was Apache helicopters that basically missiled the area because they have a thing called the Hannibal Directive. Because God forbid they let you be a hostage. They'd rather you be dead. Because God, they don't want you to be some fodder for them later. God, for your life isn't worth trading for. It's worth dying for Israel, the nation state of Israel, to be clear, not some the blanks or the X's or the Y's. Okay, it is this literal evil Likud party if you want, because that's who's in power right now. Whatever you want to call it, it's a specific sect, group, cult of something that's evil that we are just not interested in being a part of. I think I drank too much again.
Heavy sigh.
We're going to do it, man. Heavy Side podcast, man. Heavyside.com.
Oh, God.
Please
yeah, man. He's just like,
can you share your thoughts on just what I've expounded? Because I'd love to hear like something counter or something, just white pill me something, please.
Give me a one sentence recap.
We're doomed, buddy. No, basically, Israel are driving these things. They are doing evil things. The Hannibal Directive, the Samson option. I mean, I just found out the Dahia doctrine. They've got cutesy names for all their tyranny. Like,
that's
nasty.
what I was trying to think of. What you shared with me earlier.
Yeah, the Dahia doc. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and share that if you like.
Yeah, man. So their overall theme here is they're concerned about what people are saying online. They're concerned about the consequences. The rise in anti-Semitism is their problem. And it's funny because Peterson says, well, Islamophobia is not the problem. It's this other problem that I care about. It's just like, dude, no, that's also not the problem. That's also not. Yes, you can find all kinds of anti-Semitic people online. It's not good. But those people existed before, and you can complain about them being able to share their message more. Okay, I get it. That's not great. But how are you saying it's the bigger problem? How are you it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
And geopolitically, he doesn't even take it a step back. How do we have such a high influx of non-culturally agreed upon people in this country?
Yes.
Because we bombed the fuck out of them and then brought them over.
Yeah, you destroyed their home.
You fucking brought this upon. You brought the plague, and now you're complaining that the plague is here. Like, is that what I'm hearing? Is that kind of what you're getting a little bit?
Yeah. And Jordan didn't do it, to be clear, but
no, nor did the people who came here who were displaced by all the bombs.
90% of the people had nothing to do with it. They weren't soldiers in the military, even though those people
died in drone strikes, correct?
Yeah, even though the soldiers in the military have nothing to do with it, really. They're just following. I don't want to say just following orders, but they buy into the culture. They buy into the stories. The same thing happens in other regions. So we buy into our collective identity stories. They buy into theirs because that's what they grew up with.
Yep.
And when you keep continuing to escalate these conflicts, when you keep bombing, when you keep saying, oh yeah, we're the United States, we're Israel, we get to control whatever happens in the rest of the world. Other people don't like that. Other people do not want to be controlled by a foreign government. So each time this happens, whether or not you think there's real justification for it, it creates more problems.
Whatever America were before 9/11, when 9/11 happened, we galvanized 100%.
That's
every
one of the big
car
stories.
flew a flag.
Yeah.
So you're talking, okay, we're 330 million. Okay, Iran is a quarter the size. They're 90 plus, 91 and a half or something. They just see bombs coming from the sky. They're going to be galvanized from wherever those bombs are coming. I'm sorry. I can't see human nature escape that. Regime change? Really? Really? Regime change when they just were attacked by you? I mean, come on, man.
Just at some point it has to stop, Like, we can go justify our attack on Iran because of what they did in the past, and they're justifying it based on what the U.S. did in the past or what Israel did in the past. And you can go back and forth and back and forth and back all the way to eternity. And just sometime it has to stop. We gotta just call it. Like, you know what? Sorry.
I blame the United States. We fund it. I can guarantee the weak neighbors are neighborly because they have to be.
Yeah.
Israel has its own strength. Let them be strong without this help, without the bigger bully staring over everybody else, ready to fucking pounce. It's silly. Like, once again, not once have any of us stated to the end of the nation state or its non-existence or its non-desire to defend itself. None of that. We have simply said it's not our fight. Put down the arms, shake fucking hands, get it the fuck over with. And that's on you guys. That's on you. You don't see, we haven't gotten to the nuclear option with Russia, and we're still in a proxy war that no one's talking about, by the way. Hey, crickets, have you heard? All I hear is crickets chirping from Ukraine, by the way. No one's talking about whatever's going on there. I can't even imagine the carnage. Okay. We've got Pakistan and India still going at it. Both of them have nuclear weapons. No one like Pakistan. China's got a nuclear weapon. North Korea's got nuclear weapons. The only countries giving them up are the ones who have been eliminated by and been destabilized by America or its forces after. It's just fact. Like, this is on paper. So anyway, I want to share this.
Yeah.
Justin, I'll talk about this Thursday. Oh, no, hold on.
The United States is culpable in a lot of this, and it's corrupted because it's not something like nobody 2 weeks ago was like, oh my God, I'm so worried about Iran getting a nuclear bomb. Nobody thought about that. We're fine.
But remember, we were with Bob Lamont on Static Radio when they announced a super secret double probation nuclear base.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Dude, we were laughing going, up there it is. And that's what it was, right?
It's the same playbook, and you can say all you want about what Iran's capabilities are. Oh, they were enriching uranium. Fine. Maybe they were.
And they were, and I can speak to that actually. So
what's the right response to that? Is it to make sure? Because if we go in and bomb them and attack them, they're even more incentivized to go build that nuclear bomb and possibly use it. So just because they might have been on the precipice of building one doesn't mean they were going to use it immediately. Like, as soon as they have a nuclear bomb, they're not launching it over onto Florida or Washington, D.C. or whatever. Please take out Washington, D.C. first, by the way, if any terrorists are out there listening.
Hold on. You think that Iran would actually would preemptively strike Israel's 200 nuclear weapons? Like, that is at this point, to not think as a deterrent of a sovereign nation. First of all, they stopped the program in 2003. No one's talking about that. They stopped why did they stop in 2003? Because their direct threat, Saddam Hussein, the Iraqi next door that they replaced with their cousins in power, were the ones they were actually scared about. So as soon as Hussein got picked up, they're like, we're good. We don't need it. We don't need to defend ourselves, because they're the ones who hate. They're like the North South Korea. So what the hell's Israel doing sticking their nose in this shit? And yes, Iran sponsor terrorism. So do every sovereign nation, including ourselves and Israel. And that's not whataboutism. Mm-hmm. That is fact. And that's geopolitics. And you can play that all the way down. We can play turtles all the way down, my friend. We really can.
That's how war happens these days. Is we fund proxies to go fight for us. Hey, there's this radical terrorist cell that wants to overthrow the same government that we'd like to overthrow. Let's just, hey, we're not involved. We'll throw them some money and they'll take care of it for us.
Let me pull up a couple of these. Justin, I will address this one about the 60% on Thursday. If you can make it, I will talk about that. But it's about the IAE. It has to do with ripping up the agreement in 2018 that Bibi Netanyahu had Trump rip up, by the way, just FYI. Do you mind doing that for us, Jason?
Yeah, Justin says, you don't think more people are influenced from the marches of people crying out from the river to the sea, yelling about how evil Israel is. You don't think that will have increased anti-Semitism? Yeah, it might. It might, because people aren't that smart usually, and they equate the actions of the government of Israel with the Judean, what do you call it, ethnicity, religion. It's not the religion, it's the ethnic Jewish population, right? So that is wrong. I will say unequivocally that is wrong. Associating what the government of Israel does with the Jewish people is wrong.
Okay, you're gonna make me do it, Justin. I hate you, son of a bitch. I'm gonna do it. You son of a bitch! You're gonna make me stop sharing my Jordan Peterson. I gotta stop sharing Jordan Peterson. Give me a second. Okay, death to Israel, death to America, death. Okay, watch Tim. God damn it! I get so fucking angry.
Is this Tim Fool?
What? No, watch Tim. The guy's got Tim, dude. The fat chubby dude that's with Rogan, buddies, comedian.
Tim Dillon.
Tim Dillon. Thank you. Yes,
yeah.
Tim Dillon. Death to America is a slogan, not a policy. Death to America is just like MAGA and MIGA and MAHA. And here it is. I'm going to share this one with you. Are you ready? I'm going to translate it because I actually spent this. I'm going to be sharing this one on Thursday too. But let me just share this little clip because it drives me nuts. Here we go. All right. See all those flags there? They represent somebody, right? A group of people, possibly a nation state. Okay, that's enough.
But Mark, Israel
chanting,
has Palestinians in their government.
Yeah. They're chanting death to Arabs. There's all the Israeli flag flying around, death to Arabs. What? I mean, once again, we're talking about two people fighting each other, right? They're chanting death to Israel. They're fighting death to Arabs. Maybe it's a tit for tat. Does it sound a little bit like tit for tat? Who gives a shit who started it? They're both just culpable here. They're both culpable here. And we shouldn't be involved. They should work it out.
Not to mention the actual implementation of death to all Middle Eastern countries by the United States.
Who has the power to do it? Right? Like, who has the power to actually do it? It wouldn't be the Iranians wouldn't have as much as America with Israel combined, right? Like, so
but this is that's the reason Iran actually is a bigger country with a more developed military presence, and we should be worried about this. This is not just like, you're going to go throw some bombs and then it's over. I really hope that this ceasefire is real and that's it. But I doubt it, and it scares me. Like, it actually does scare me a little bit. I know the United States is powerful, but we're not that powerful. We cannot control the entire world.
If I were gonna black pill the moment, Putin's already chimed in a little bit. Who's to say he's like, I have the codes and I have all that, but I'm gonna park them in Iran. I'm going to park a couple they're part of the NPT. They're part of the non-nuclear proliferation treaty. They're as long as they're out and exposed or whatever, you know what I mean? If they meet the guidelines of them being there, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you could see like the BRICS thing rise, right? With the issue with the petrodollar and China come in and go, yeah, we support Iran to do that. We'll actually park one out there too, just to be safe, just so you know that we're all checks and balances. We'll put one in addition to Russia putting one there. And I'm just saying, like, this is where this can go, everybody.
It could go anywhere. And
yeah,
again, I really hope it doesn't, but
no,
seems a little.
We think cooler heads shall prevail. And look, regardless of the outcome of this, we did attack. We attacked, sneak attack. Like, it was a pussy fucking move, man. It's why, like, it was an attack that was not I don't care what the outcome is here. The act was incorrect. It's the act on its face. So that's just opinion, of course.
Yeah.
You want me to play a couple more minutes?
There's a lot of opinions. I can't say I know everything about the history. I can't say I know it all.
Yeah.
I don't want it to escalate. That's my biggest issue, I guess, in the whole thing is, like, if it escalates, it can get really bad. If they really are enriching uranium to nuclear weapon levels, then yeah, we should be careful. We shouldn't just go in because we think that we're the big badasses of the world, that we can do whatever we want and expect nothing to happen, because something can happen. And we might have to let Iran have a little bit of sovereignty. We can't just expect to control the entire region forever.
What's interesting, Daryl Davis, I put up, I think I pinned it. Daryl Davis with Spike Cohen about hate. I think I pinned it on my Twitter, on my X. If you go to my profile, replaced Michael Schellenberger with that speech. Watching Daryl Davis talk about what people need in their life. You don't think Iran just needs to be heard as well, listened to in some way? I guarantee they do not feel they have a voice. What has Russia felt at being like on the outs all the time? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, a little inclusion goes a long way. It really does.
And Iran has a ton of problems. I'm not going to pretend there's some just like innocent victim in all this. They're not.
But then how did they get there? Country's gotten, the softer they've gotten. Saudi Arabia from what, 19 of, or whatever, 10 of 20 or whatever, the 18 of the 20 or whatever that bombed, they had an ideology back then. They're letting women wrestle in WWE in like Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Yes, they're fully clothed, like they have different outfits on and stuff, but they're not wearing hijab, they're not wearing their headdress, they're completely covered. But this is wrestling women. That was not unheard of back. You know what I mean? So, like, these countries that are becoming prosperous are becoming looser just because of the prosperity. It just makes you softer. It does, because, like, you stop worrying about food on the table and you're worried and honor and all this shit. You know what I mean? It changes your viewpoint. So, but
yeah.
Anyway,
we're coming up on 2 hours here.
Yeah, we're gonna here do this one, and then we'll talk about what we're gonna do the rest of this weekend for us, or this week.
Justin says, if this does end up going to peace talks and calming down, will you say Trump's decision to take out those sites was a good one? No, I will be grateful that happened. I will be pleased with that outcome, I suppose. But I think
that's the best outcome that could possibly come out of what's happened so far. So if that is the outcome, I think
we were better off before. I think unless there's something that I cannot see, that no one can see, that they really were trying to build a bomb and they had some plans to actually use it, which none of us know, then we were better off before. Because we're backing and we're back. If you think that Iran is some savage, wild animal people that just want to kill Americans, then we're backing a wild animal into a corner, and that's not a good situation.
See Putin. And Putin was unprovoked, not justified, but he felt pressures that Israel feel. He felt pressures that Iran feel, I bet. And if this is just and the problem is with this, and I'll put this up again, it is only a mowing the lawn moment. This stops nothing. It will
still an escalation.
Right. Watch Alex Gibney's 0 days. They took out the centrifuges and they doubled their efforts after the centrifuges got corrupted by the virus. So like to think that's a solution. It's not really, it's a kick the can down the road. And
I think this makes them more incentivized to develop further weapons in secret, in more secret
go even
than they
more
would
underground.
have otherwise.
Yeah, even more underground. So, sir, it's been an honor. Again, we've had over 30 people on constantly through today. We've got 10 to 15 people on the Rumbles. Thank you so much. If you could,
Thanks,
Jason,
everybody. Yeah.
Tell us your stuff, how we can get a hold of you and what we need to do to keep in touch with you.
Don't get a hold of me. I'm trying to be as completely off the grid as I can while still being attached to social media. Don't follow me, but follow Mark at Mark Sean Pulse. He's really putting out some good stuff. Go to the Knocked Conscious podcast. Follow him everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And follow that guy. He's doing good stuff.
Thank you, sir. But what you have in the library, super high quality. So make sure you go to Drop the Mask. He's spoken. Still, I haven't spoken with Matthew Sands, Andrew Horton, right? Some great minds, great thoughts. Go down there. So, but follow us, because like honestly, this collaboration is kicking butt, my friend. We honestly are. The message is growing. That's what it's all about. Has nothing to do with anything else. As soon as we get big enough, I'm kicking your ass to the side and going to try to go solo. But no. So this week we still have this crazy.
I'm waiting for the day, man. Please.
Right? Why would I? No, dude. Honestly, I am useless on my own. This is not a joke. It has nothing. I could I judge through talking alone? This is, I got to get this back and forth. I got to get the interchange of ideas. I can't, this single bullshit doesn't work. So, right. So I got a debate on Thursday that I chickened out, that I ducked out of, but I'm back on. Anyway, Friday, we have the Honorable Howard Bloom, everybody. Howard Bloom was the publicist for Michael Jackson. And there's a book called Einstein, Michael Jackson, and Me that he wrote. That's the one I did the audiobook on. Man, the way he writes the stories about it is so cool. And he wrote this new book, Sexual Cosmos something. I know I told you about it. Did you get a chance to look at it at all?
I started a little bit. I will more this week. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts like on just the intro, the way he writes stuff?
Don't ask me.
You good? No. Oh, okay. No, okay. Anyway,
when I say I started, I read a few paragraphs.
No, I'm with you, man. No, literally, and it's tough. This is the whole point about like it's like I'm trying to like read 8 books to get people on from Freedom Fest. People come with books, and I'm like, I got what and a movie? What? You know what I mean? Like, so I got to do all that.
Well, if they got a movie, just watch that.
Yeah, but no, not the Reagan one. I think the book's going to be way better than the movie. And that's also cool. That's Mark Jacobs. So we just hit 30 people on it. So thank you again. This has been another Not Conscious, but Friday, Howard Bloom, that's 6 p.m. special edition, If by Whiskey with Howard Bloom. He was also on Coast to Coast. So if you Google Howard Bloom Coast to Coast, he used to do like a Wednesday thing, give predictions and stuff. Pretty cool. Really fun guy. Also weirdo, but great. And then Friday, right after that, I have to cut that podcast short. Me cut something short. Yeah, right. Talking. And then I have to jump right on to another podcast with freedomuncut.com. And it's Are You Smarter Than a Politician? I've never done it. I'm freaking out and I'm overwhelmed. Sir, let's cut it, my friend. You let me know when we're ready to go. You close it out. We're going to Irish
Good
whiskey
luck.
this bad boy.
I've got my iron and my 6 string.